This video will show you some of the things that you might run into when you're using the API Gateway to connect to a Lambda function to connect to an RDS database using the serverless Node.js framework. So you want your Lambda functions to look like this. You'll notice that we are creating a pool outside of the Lambda function. So when you do this, you're pulling database connections out of the pool and you're reusing that pool for each Lambda function invocation. So there's no reason to write some code inside your Lambda function to spin up and tear down and create database connections. The next thing you'll want to do is you want to make sure that you're using the latest version of Node. In this case, it's 8.10. And so what 8.10 allows us to do is to write really clean asynchronous code using the async and await keywords. The first thing you'll notice in this Lambda function is this context.callback waits for empty event loop. This ensures that our Lambda function executes right away. And if you don't have this line in your Lambda function, you might notice that your Lambda function just times out or appears to never connect to your database. That can be a weird issue to troubleshoot and understand what's going on. So make sure you have this line to make sure that your Lambda function executes right away. When you pass data into your Lambda function, there are a couple of ways in which you can do it. One way is to pass data using the query string. So in this example, we're passing a /1 on the query string. And to read that /1 from the query string, we can get that using the pathParameters property on the event object. So event.pathParameters.id will contain the value of 1. And the other way to pass data into your Lambda function is through the request body itself. So to get at the request body, the first thing you must do is you must json.parse your event.body. Once you do that, you can access your properties in the event using the standard notation j.userId. Then this line shows that we are executing a query and we're using the await keyword from node 8.10, and once that executes, our array of rows will contain the data returned from that query. So this Lambda function must return an object that is properly formatted. We're using the API Gateway, and we are using a feature from the API Gateway called Lambda Proxy Integration. And what that means is this Lambda function must return data that is properly formatted, that conforms to a Lambda proxy response. If it doesn't conform to that response, your API Gateway will just return some sort of error, probably something like internal server error. And it might be a little bit tricky, it might be hard to find, but you have to return the data in a properly formatted Lambda proxy response. So I just cannot add anything I want to this response. It will most likely fail the API. And then obviously you want to make sure your Lambda function is set up to run in a VPC. If your RDS database is in your VPC, your Lambda function needs to run in your VPC. So you can log into the AWS console and make sure that your Lambda function looks something similar to this. In this example, I'm running it in a public subnet and 2 private subnets. And you'll also want to make sure that your Lambda function has this role. It's executing with this role that has this policy attached to it, the Lambda VPC access execution role. This just shows quickly what my serverless YAML file looks like for this API call. And if you have any issues, one thing that I do is I log into the Amazon API Gateway web console and I execute and test the function, the API call itself. You can click that little round orange button and you can see errors in the console on the web page. Sometimes these things are hard to troubleshoot and diagnose. You'll see messages that don't give you much information at all, like bad gateway, missing authentication token. That's a really confusing one. And internal server error. So running the executing your web API calls through the Amazon API Gateway web console is a good way to see information that will help you troubleshoot and diagnose some stuff.